Welcome to The Turnover. The format is simple. Take 3 multifamily media network hosts with a maintenance background and put them together. The twist is that, like maintenance in the apartment industry, they have to respond to the unknown. You see, 2 of the hosts don't know what the topic is. The fun part is there's no limit and you get to listen in. So what ideas are we turning today?
Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of The Turnover. I'm gonna do something a little different, which these 2 are not prepared for, so we'll see what happens. We're gonna start off with a little icebreaker.
Wait, no. Wait, are we calling back the previous episode now? Are we just going to constantly do this?
This is real.
We're going to constantly keep calling back previous episode? I veto that.
This is real.
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
This is real life. Okay, so we're going to start off with a little icebreaker. I'm going to ask 4 questions. Just give me just quick answers. So, Chris, Paul, would you rather work on a property that is 1 to 10 years old, 11 to 20, or 30 plus? Somewhere in there.
I'm a 30 plus.
30 plus?
I like them old with good bones, and I don't care if they're falling down. At least I know how they're going to fall down.
Okay.
The 1 to 10s, no bueno.
Agree.
I'll go 11 to 20 because that way it's just hitting its stride and you can really set up some good systems and policies so that you can hand it off to Chris at the 20-year mark with those good bones.
Right. I'm in the same boat. I'm 11 to 20 all day. Okay, next question. Hot tubs on your property, yes or no?
Hot tubs on your property. That is an awful idea. I like them in my backyard, but not on the property. Paul teaches CPO. They are cesspools, absolute cesspools. I don't even go to them when I go to hotels. My wife's like, let's go to the hot tub. I was like, are you out of your mind? I enjoy a great hot tub, but if it's in my backyard, under my complete control. So no.
And I think your answers are incomplete. Yes or no is not good enough. The proper answer is hell no. Food Network says to make a good broth, you need protein, hot water, and seasoning.
Are those the ingredients of a hot tub?
With some bromine added in,
That's the seasoning. Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay. I used to work on a property that had 3 hot tubs. All right.
Was there a burial ground in the back?
Next question.
Was it called the Legionella apartment communities?
Pseudomonas.
Okay, next question. Oh god. The color agreeable gray, yes or no?
This is actually painful. We're looking for a new vehicle for my wife. And I say this, I drive a gray truck. Ford calls it Abyss. It's a really cool color. I like it. But we're looking for a new vehicle for my wife, and so many of them are thing gray, unquote. That is the number 1 color. Every time we go to these car lots, we're around there. They bring around the car to test drive, and it is an effing gray color. And my wife sits there, and we look at each other, and we say, nope, we're not testing an effing gray car. So agreeable or not, gray, hell no. Just it's done.
No, Mark, I'm going to turn the question right back at you. Agreeable gray or Dover white?
Honestly,
gun to your head, Dover white or agreeable gray?
I'd go white.
Ding.
I'm a Dover white guy, agreeable gray, and I'm going to trump you with your story. I was just at with agreeable gray. I was just at a property we were doing a rehab on, and every developer, and I don't know if they're getting it for 1 penny per square foot, but they're putting in that gray wood floating floor, the LVP, and I see it in every single unit. I even had an architect say, I make sure I don't even put it in anymore because everybody in my office uses that. And one of my guys said, my wife wants to put this in my house, and I told her absolutely not because it's in every single unit now. It is, whether it's a market rate environment, an affordable rehab, student housing, everybody's putting in that agreeable gray LVP. Next question.
All right. This is the last question. controlled access gates? Yes or no?
Did you go down through these thoughts are the most controversial thoughts for maintenance technicians to argue and raise blood pressure? Is that where these questions came from? Because I've seen that list before.
No, this is an ice.
Is what he did.
Yes, there you go. That's it.
I wrote these down about 10 minutes before we started recording this morning because I was going to ask you the questions. We brought up icebreakers, and I thought, oh, this is going to be good. So, controlled access gates, yes or no?
Controlled access gates on steel gates? Yes. Controlled access gates on cheap ass aluminum? Pardon my language. I think we have to tag this for explicit language now. No. Because people will yank on them, they will break them. Steel, yes. Aluminum gates, absolutely not. It's a waste of your money.
My answer is contextual. It depends on the context. Yeah. The context, first of all, is what are the controls like? If this access gate, you have times that the gates are going to be open versus times that they are normally closed. Sun up to sundown, the gates are open. Sundown to sun up, the gates are closed. And that's just the way it is. I agree with you, Chris, on the material that it's made out of. I will add a caveat, though. I think everyone needs to have the bar, the arm that goes up and down in front of, and there needs to be some way to penalize food delivery services who tailgate through the gate. Because
do like Domino's, you piggyback, my meal is free.
There we go. That's exactly right.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for playing along. I appreciate it. Now we are awake.
Paul's on his 6th cup of coffee. He was awake. He was awake before he was.
Hold on. I just went and got my 2nd pot.
Nice. So my topic today is not really necessarily a topic. It's a question, and it's more for fun because having watched some of our previous episodes, we always pitch something or a topic. And Paul, you're really good about this. You say, okay, you mentioned the problem, but what's the solution? So I want to try to be more like solution oriented instead of problem oriented. So, but I said all that, and then when you see what I'm about to ask you, it has nothing to do with it. I want to keep it fun, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like I want to keep it fun instead of serious, because again, like, you know, our editor Alvin saying, get these 3 guys together, and it's just hilarious. So I'm rolling.
Hold on. Well, hold on 1 second. I have a quick question for you, Mark. This is episode 2 in a row that you've brought up our amazing editor, Alvin. So how much did he Venmo you for the name drops? Because I'll mention Alvin every single episode that I record for Alvin. Alvin, that's $20 per mention. And my Venmo is at...
Actually, I keep saying his name because when I put my episodes in the Airtable, I forget to add him as my editor. So...
it's more for you to remember.
So he's like, hey, I got it. By the way, you didn't put me down as your... I'm sorry. Okay, so, all right. Yeah. Listen. It's okay. All right.
Thank you, Alvin.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. All right, so my question today, and again, this is to keep it fun, but also keep it allowable for our podcast, because I know we're all going to have stories that we cannot repeat, but I want to know, what is a funny or rememberable? That's not even remember. I'm editing this out. What is a funny and or memorable experience you've had on site? So I'll start just to give you time to get the wheels turning. So this happened around a time that I was on call, and we were talking about access gates just a second ago. Chris, you even mentioned it's like we were on the same level, steel versus aluminum gates. So the property that I was working on, it's a 700 something unit property, and it was built in 4 phases. So you had all different age stuff on the property, and a developer came in and bought the entire thing, and they built these access gates to to help with traffic because we were on a major road. So they built like some side streets to get people off of. But anyway, we used to have steel gates at this property, and our motors, the driver for them were starting to fail, and they're like, they can't keep up with the steel. So you either buy new operators or we can fabricate you some aluminum gates. Well, somebody at the time said, no, let's fabricate some aluminum gates because they're lighter. We can keep our operators working because that's a lot of money for anybody who's worked on properties with access gates. I was on call and was out taking care of something else. And I went back up to the office to clock out so that I could head home. And as I'm walking out of my door, one of our residents was leaving the property. So he was already inside the gate. He was leaving the property. The gate was shut and he never hit the brake pedal. He turned the corner and accelerated up the hill and took out the access gate, knocked down the brick column that it was connected to or that channeled it, and just kept going. Just left the property. I'm standing there looking like, did he just do that? He can clearly see me. And so he takes off the property. He turns right, disappears. And I'm still like in this crazy, like, did that just happen? So I got my phone and I called at the time the supervisor. And I said, hey, someone just hit the the gate. Like, I'm standing here. It's bent out of I'm going to need some help getting this out of the way because we can't leave it like this. And so he was going to get dressed and come meet me up. Not 5 minutes later, the same vehicle that had just torn down the exit gate comes turning back into the property, and he pulls up to the entrance gate and uses his card to open the gate. And he sees us all standing there trying to move this gate, and I look at him, and he rolls his window down. And he says, hey, man, somebody hit your gate? And I said, you did. He said, oh, no, that wasn't me. And then we went and we looked, and he still had bricks lodged into the front of his GMC Sierra truck. No offense to GMC Sierra, but I just remember the truck because it was a bright blue color. He still had bricks in the front of his grill from where he took out the first column to move these gates out of the way. And then he just drove to his apartment. So we called the police, and they were coming out. They went over to him, and it turns out the guy was completely just medicated out of his mind, and he had no idea. He had no idea that he had taken out our gates on the way out. But that was that was the reason why I was asking about access control gates earlier. But that was just one of the thousands of instances I can recall that was just, did that just happen? Like right in front of me, did that just happen? And people want to know why the rent's so high. And you got people driving through access, somebody hit your gate. You. So
if you want to keep it down access gate row, went down worked on a property that had almost 1,000 units, had 3 access gates. The entrance was divided, and you had the office was right straight in front of you. And so you had 2 gates on the side here. You could either turn right or left. And they both had cameras because, cameras at the gate. So the next day we come in, and when the office opens, there is this young lady that is standing there, and she has her head wrapped up like she's been to the hospital, medical, whatever, to where she's got a bandage around her head and her hair. And she said, I need your film from last night because I'm suing you. And of course, the office is open. We haven't seen anything except you could tell there's now damage to the left-hand gate that as you drive in. And long story short, through multiple hilarious hijinks that go on of, are you really serious right now? Those flavor, we finally get to the point of actually watching the video. We call the legal, and they make a copy, give it to her, and then we watch it. And apparently the previous night, our assumption is she was in a state of inebriation, and for whatever reason could not make the little remote clicker thing function for the gate. The reason why is because she wanted to go in the gate on the left, but she was clicking the button for the gate on the right. So split screen view, she's in her car. And by the way, the car is a Jag. I mean, this is not an inexpensive car.
If you were to ask me what kind of car it was, I would have said a Jaguar. Like, that's exactly where I would have went. So thanks, for just answering the question I already knew the answer to.
Got it. So she is clicking the one. You can see the gate over on the right-hand side opening up. The little arm bar goes up. Everything's great. And she's still pointing it at the gate, clicking, and you can see through the windshield, it's multiple camera view. I mean, this is like an episode of Cops type of thing, that is there. And it's not moving and opening. Finally, she gives up, pulls around the corner, and gently bumps her bumper to the middle of the gate and gently forces them open, scratching down the sides of the Jag up until the windshield gets to the plastic bar. So the car is now halfway through, inside and out. She gets out of the car, parks it lodged in the gate, and she gets to the plastic arm, goes to lift it off the windshield of the car, gets underneath as she's forcing this up. Yes, it happens, slips out of her hand and smacks her upside the head. And that's what she went to the emergency room for, and that's what the bandages were for around her head.
That's what we like to call karma in the multifamily industry.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
instant karma.
Yeah. It was wonderful. And the whole response, all of us as a team, we're like gathered around. I mean, it was like the funny moment is, can we pop some popcorn and watch this again? I mean, this is the thing. And at the end, the only thing you're left with is it's absurd beyond hilarity to where you're just like, really? 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 So yeah, that's the memorable part. Yeah. There you go, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you,
I will
Paul.
tell a very quick controlled access story, and I will follow it up with another really good resident story that, just when you think you've seen it all, right? So my early days, my first property had a traditional solid roll-down gate. Resident did not remember that they had one of those cargo loaders on the top of their car.
Okay.
And it was well bolted down to the top of their car. It's not like they had just gotten it, but apparently they forgot. So as the gate was rolling up, they started to progress through the gate without it being fully up, tore the entire 40-foot long roll down gate, dropped on their car. And then they spent the next 2 weeks asking me, when was the gate going to get replaced? They were the one that was asking me. They caused like $20,000 worth of damage. And I said, and I was young in my career. I wasn't maybe as polished. And I said, as soon as your insurance company writes the check. Now, would I say that today? Probably not that way. But I was like, as soon as your insurance company writes us the check for the gate, I can order a new one. Yeah. But our cars aren't secure. My car's secure. Yours isn't, because you tore down the gate. So I
think that you may have just identified the big challenge we all have, maintenance has with access gates. Everybody changes the word access to security, and that is wrong. So congratulations, you have now just identified the problem. Go with story number 2.
I am, this one is just plain stupid. So 13 years ago, we had a hurricane up here in the Northeast, Hurricane Sandy. Devastated our East Coast, New York City, and at the time I was right outside New York City off Long Island Sound. The 2 buildings, 2 high-rise buildings, one was a 40-story, one was a 20-story. I had a crew of about 40 people, and the hurricane was hitting. So we prepped, we did everything that we needed to do, right? But we didn't take into account our 1,000 apartment homes and the stupidity of the residents that resided in said homes. We were ready to go. Pool furniture was tied down, We had an around the clock. I was awake for 38 straight hours through the preparation and through the actual storm. And when the storm hit, now the buildings sit miles from Long Island Sound. And for those of you not familiar, Long Island Sound is just north of Long Island, right outside New York City. And my buildings were the only 2 of the 3 at the time high rises in this city. So they were gigantic wind sails. So the wind would blow from the south on a good day. It would blow from the south. My building would catch the wind, let it circulate, and it would cause pressure drops and doors not to be able to be opened and all sorts of things. So now imagine 65 to 80 mile an hour winds during a tropical depression at that point. It had downgraded because it had just passed the city. And it was probably about 2 o'clock in the morning. And again, I'd been awake for, let's call it 18 hours at that point. Okay. And I'm managing crisis management, and residents started to come down. Again, this is 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. My dog needs to go outside. And I said, I strongly advise against that. We had opened up our loading docks. We said, let your dogs do their business on our loading dock, and we will gladly clean it up. You don't even have to pick up anything. We'll hose it down. We'll throw it out, which I thought was pretty nice.
Yeah.
Considering everything. This resident said, my dog needs, and it was a little punter, right? Like I have. I can call them punter dogs because I have little punter dogs. Probably 15, 20 pound bitty dog. So no. I promise this does not end. This does not have a sad ending.
To a really bad place.
Yeah.
Like place. I need khaki here. It's so good.
So I said, ma'am, fine. If you want to take your dog outside, I let her out through the back loading dock, and I said, listen, let me just look outside, you know, to make sure it's safe for you to walk your dog out in 80 mile an hour winds at 2 o'clock in the morning. Sure, why not? So I literally opened the door, and it took me, I was by myself. It took all of my 200-pound frame to push that door open. But I did it. And as I look outside, I watched a streetlight rip off the pole and roll down the street past my building. And I turned and I looked at this resident and I said, ma'am, you're more than welcome to go outside. I was like, I want you to know it's a little windy out. And I just watched the streetlight blow down the street. I wish I had my camera on me at that point. And she goes, I'll be fine. And I said, go with God, literally go with God. So I let her out. She walked to the edge of I watched her, because again, I'm trying to take care of my residents. I watched her walk to the edge of the corner, and she came right back in. She goes, yeah, I was a little brisk out. And I am sitting there doing my best to hold it together. Like, again, no sleep. There wasn't enough coffee in the world, and she just went about her day. And she was the only resident that I had a problem with. I also had, I learned a lot about teamwork that night. We had myself, my property manager, and my assistant property manager was there and up. My other live-in technician was there, and 4 of my other guys. So we had 6 maintenance guys and 2 folks from the office that were there the entire time, the whole night. We get an emergency call. We can't close our patio door. So again, another door situation. We go up to the apartment. Well, of course you can't close your patio door. You were on the 28th floor and decided to open your patio door in the middle of a hurricane. It took 3, myself and 2 other team members, 2 of my other maintenance guys, to keep the door from ripping off the hinges and blowing from the 28th story to street level. We were able to get the door pulled closed, and then we just, to be extra safe, because I had a feeling that door was going to blow off despite our best efforts. You all know doors are held on with little itty bitty latches, right? So
most of the screws are stripped.
Right. Well, we had actually thought like the door was going to blow off despite our best efforts. So we had already brought up 2 sheets of plywood. We were able to get the door closed, and then we plywooded her door so she couldn't open it anymore. And if it did blow off, we wouldn't have to have a callback at 5 o'clock in the morning that I just watched my door blow into Long Island Sound. So yeah, those are some door stories. It kind of goes along the lines with, controlled access, but it never ceases to amaze me, the things that we see. And a resident is like, sure, I have no problem walking my dog in 80-mile-an-hour winds. I don't take my dogs out when it's got a light rain outside. I'm like, no, it's fine. I'll just clean it up. There's some wheelie mats downstairs. Like, you're going to take your dogs out at 2 o'clock in the morning in the middle of a hurricane? Sure.
Why not?
Sure, why not?
Wow. My question regarding access gates is, why is it always, if you call the access company, and I'm sure access companies are wonderful and I'm not casting aspersions and I've met some really, really great guys, but why is the repair always one of three things? You need to replace the board, you need to replace the entire drive system, or we need to reinstall another loop. Tell me a property that is older than 10 years that has access gates that doesn't have 5 or 6 cuts in the roadway where they have relayed loops. I mean, it's not like, rodents, the copper in the... I'm sorry.
I had the fourth one. The software needs to get updated.
Oh, yes.
For 4.
I'm sorry.
It's only a year old. Well, technology moves really fast. We need to update the software.
Hey, I'm sorry. We are discovering that apparently NASA ran the space shuttle off of the equivalent of a Commodore 64. Why?
But we can't lock down our properties.
The software when it's the same gate, the same everything.
Mark, are you happy that you got him wound up over gates? Are you happy with yourself? Are you happy?
I wanted to know what it took. And I was willing to push the limits. I found it. I put my thumb on the pole and I just kept pushing. I knew Gates would do it.
It's one of them there. So, okay. So if we're doing callbacks, the last episode we turned one Mark Sharp at a time. Now we found out we're turning one Paul Rose.
Oh no! I think I'm not in good shape for the next episode. Then it doesn't sound good on the next episode. Episode 9 is not looking so good for me.
Right, but no, I appreciate you all playing along. I appreciate it. Just trying to be fun, a little different than maybe before. But it's just that no matter where we are in the country, no matter what we are doing, no matter what specifically our properties have, whether you're high rise, whether you're garden style, we all have the same issues. We all struggle with the same things. It's not, it's an industry thing. And so my icebreaker questions at the very beginning, 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 30 plus years old, hot tubs, yes or no? Agreeable gray, yes or no? Like these we're in different. Now Paul and I, we're close, but Chris, you aren't close to us, and so that agreeable gray question was going to go one way or the other. I was either going to say agreeable gray, and we were all going to be like, oh. Or Chris, you were going to say what the hell's agreeable gray? Right. But it's, and nothing against the manufacturer of that color. I know that's the term that they use. No shade there, but it's just like, oh my God, just as an industry, we all struggle across the country with the same things over and over and over. And sometimes it's just nice to tell a funny story that involves those things to keep it light, to keep it fun. So I appreciate you all playing along and indulging me down this memory lane here. Paul, take some blood pressure meds on the next break. Get some more coffee. Switch to decaf.
Join us on the next episode of The Turnover, where we discuss orange peel texture or straight nap on The Turnover next time.
Yeah, and with that, we'll cut it. Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Turnover. We will catch you on the next one.
Now it's your opportunity to respond and let us know what we missed. If there's any topics of conversation you'd like us to turn over, head over to multifamilymedianetwork.com and leave us a message.